Good neighbor events.
I'm Ken Coleman. Join me here on News Radio WGNS, weekdays live at noon, as we answer your questions about your calling, passion, and talent to maximize your potential.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Looking to go solar? MTE's Pro Solar program is committed to educating members on the process and helping them achieve their renewable energy goals. Learn more at ProSolar at mte.com/prosolar. We're talking Rutherford County Schools today, and School Board Chair Tammy Sharp joins us. And let's see, if I recall correct, you were here last month and this month?
I was here April 6th.
Yeah. So a lot's happened since then.
A lot.
In less than a month, actually.
In less than a month.
So a lot of things to talk about here with you this morning, and I guess the biggest thing that happened this month is approval on new additions to Oakland, Riverdale, and Smyrna high schools.
That is correct. About $160 million.
Wow. And
so it's about $20 million over what the previous county commissioners had promised us in August of last year.
But obviously a need. Mike Sparks was on this morning and was talking about the next school we build, just a full school could be 150 to 160 million, and so
I'm not sure where he's getting that information from, but I do know that we are looking at about $70 million for a school at the Beatty property once we finalize
70
so
for an elementary
70. And that's one of the things, just like
I think that was a high school he was talking about,
it could be, but we Trade Lead did a really good job estimating for our county commissioners so they could go to the bond market, and we ended up not going. But I mean, he was only $20 million off, and that's inflation and everything else that has gone into the new year.
I guess my whole point about that is, for the amount it would cost to maybe build a new high school, we're adding to 3 high schools in areas where obviously there's so much growth that we need that extra classroom space, and the safety factor is really big, especially at Riverdale and Oakland.
Absolutely, because it will, in Smyrna, it will get all the kids out of the portables. And across the district, we have about 150 portables, so it's somewhere close to 4,000 students that are not behind brick and mortar. So any way you look at that, weather-wise or anything else, it's not optimal for sure.
Well, since your time on the school board, I bet you haven't gotten that number any lower, because by the time you build a school, you still have to put those portables somewhere else, it seems.
They are redeployed. If they're still in good shape, they are redeployed. And, we don't want to be in the portable business. They're very expensive. They're about $125,000 a piece. So once they use them, and then if they redeploy them somewhere else, the wear and tear on them, they don't last that long. So it's a lot of money that's going to go away.
Well, if you add all of those up at $125,000 a piece, that's quite a bit of money in portables, isn't it?
We just bought 10, I believe it was 10, and it was over $1 million.
Oh, wow. So the Rutherford County Commission obviously had to approve what you all have been working on as a board and as a school system for a long time. So I know that's a big relief to get that past the commission.
It is, and we're so thankful that we're building relationships and working things out for the benefit of the children and our taxpayers, because that's always a consideration as well. But once we get behind the annexes and some other building, we'll go back and revamp our 5-year program, because we did have a salary study, but besides that, we had an enrollment study that is predicting that we're going to be having 7,000 more students between now and 2026. So,
in the next 3 years?
Yes, in the next 3 years. So with us, with 51 schools, and basically half of them are at or over capacity, we've got kids in closets now. So we have a lot of building still to do.
I just want to make sure I reiterate what you said, because it's really astounding. In the next 3 years, by 2026, we're going to add 7,000 students to the county school system.
That's what the agency said that did the enrollment analysis, and they'll be coming up for rezoning next. I believe they're going to be on the agenda next month to speak. Because we asked them to do a zoning analysis as well to help us to rezone in the areas that need to be rezoned. But they just keep coming. Traditionally, from May of every year when school is out to August, we receive somewhere around 1,000 to 1,300 students coming from wherever. This last year, they continued to come because East Coast or West Coast really think we don't go to school until after Labor Day. But we didn't see that drop off this year. And especially on the north end at Stewart's Creek Elementary, they're still seeing students come almost on a daily basis, sometimes 2 a day. And they're coming from Davidson County because the property taxes there are higher, and they want out of that, and their prices are higher, so they can sell and come here and get a relatively, maybe a bigger house and, of course, a better school system.
Do you ever feel like you're swimming upstream in all of this? You know, you get additions approved to the high schools, but then you find out, we've got 7,000 kids coming into the system in the next 3 years. It's like you can't get ahead almost, really.
Can't, and the growth isn't paying for itself, and that was one of the reasons that we did hire a lobbyist to see if we could get the facilities use tax or fee for the county, because right now we're getting about $1,500 for a single home and about $750 for an apartment, and it just isn't paying for the schools. It's not paying for the infrastructure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's one of those things that taxpayers are going to see change, but that's discussion for another day and not in your department, I guess, at this point.
Well, we've got until June. We're getting our budget ready, and we're hopeful. We're seeing some really good signs. I think people are going to be happy.
Tammy Sharp is joining us today, Rutherford County School Board Chair. Another thing that I wanted to bring up with you, I'm sure that you have answered questions until you're blue in the face about charter schools, but kind of update us on what happened at the recent meeting.
Not really, but we did have another application from ACE, American Classic Education, Rutherford County, and they were approved. So next August of 24, they will open a school. They are looking at property right now. I'm hoping it's going to be on the north end because that's where we're more densely populated, and we need another elementary school up there because Stewart's Creek is 136% capacity. So it would be great if we could get it up there. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it is a different curriculum. It is a public school. It is a free public school. Anybody who wants to attend that school can attend that school. There are no means testing like our Central Magnet, because you have to test into that school. So anybody can go to that school. They do have money set aside for busing. It's not for everybody, but it's a choice school. And they're going to, once they're built out, they'll probably take about 1,500 of our students.
What is the biggest concern about charter schools with people, constituents, when they talk to you about that? And I'm sure you have a good answer for them to maybe understand it a little bit more. But what do you see as the top thing people are concerned about with charter schools?
Well, some of it is the curriculum. I mean, they do have a different curriculum, and that's one of the good things because they can offer a different curriculum, just like Springs that was approved last year. They're more of a Montessori, and it's not for everybody. But because they come into the area, they're the ones that are paying for the brick and mortar and the property. So the taxpayers don't have to pay for that. They get funded from the state for per child. The TISA will follow the child. So if they leave Oakland Middle and go to Springs, they're not going to have that grade. But if they, in theory, that money would follow them. So it doesn't go to Rutherford County Schools. It would go to the Springs. And if they come back the next year, then the money would follow them back to the traditional public school.
But as a county, we don't have the cost of employing teachers and building a building and all of that kind of thing.
That is correct.
At the choice school.
They come in and they buy or build, or they buy and rehab. So that upfront cost, we don't have that expense.
Well, I think maybe, there are obviously opinions wide-ranging.
Absolutely. And look, I'm a First Amendment girl. Everybody's welcome to their opinion. We may just agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. But we just went to the county commissioners for $160 million. We're going to go back for another $70 million for the Beatty property. And we're going to self-fund the Church Street property, which we're hoping to turn into an alternative school. But that's a lot of money. And we know that the county is in debt. and 80% of that is the school system. So to be a good steward of our money, everybody, we just need all hands on deck. And if you don't want to go to that school, then it's going to alleviate some room in the schools for other people to go there, and we've got plenty coming.
By the estimate of 700. No, I'm sorry, 7,000. I added too many zeros.
That's okay. I do that often myself. The state also is in line with that number.
Wow.
So we've got two different people that are not related that are telling us the same amount. So it's daunting because it is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Again, 7,000 more students in the next 3 years. I just find that amazing. Tammy Sharp with us, Rutherford County School Board Chair. There have been some really cool things happening as well, and you want to talk about a couple that really go along with the arts. We've had really great representation at the Athena Triple Choir, right?
Yes. Stewart's Creek Choir. It was so angelic. And I'll just tell y'all, most of my friends know I went to Christ Church for probably about 15 years. And, they have a world-renowned choir. These young students, they had most of the school board crying before we left there. They were just angelic. And people need to tune in for May the 11th, the county commissioners meeting. They're going to be making an appearance there. So we'll get to see the treat and everything. And I do believe it was recorded, so they'll probably have a fundraiser and sell that disc for people to. It was incredible. They had a French, German, and English and Spanish song. And I probably left something out, but they did at least 4 or 5 different languages. So
now, what is the Athena Triple Choir? Maybe kind of get our bearings. And Stewart's Creek Elementary was our middle school?
No, high school.
High school. Okay, that's right. They were able to perform in this, right?
Yes, and they were special guests. They were chosen over. It was a statewide. Professional development convention.
Okay.
So they were chosen, and we also had, I'm trying to get this out, Blackman Middle Percussion Ensemble. They were earlier in the day, and we didn't get to see them, but they said they, knocked their doors off.
That's great.
Stewart's Creek. So the choir only has a piano, and they had strings accompanying them. So it's not a lot. I mean, it's almost like a cappella, and they were incredible.
Well, that's fun.
They're incredible.
And so you can watch the next county commission meeting and see a piece of that.
On May 11th.
All right, very good. And I want to make sure we save some time here because Jazz Fest is what, next week?
Next
Saturday,
yes,
a week from tomorrow.
Saturday, yes, a week from tomorrow. So we're still getting things together and everything because when Main Street decided that they weren't going to be able to do it, we didn't hear about it until November of last year. So it was right before Thanksgiving and right before the Christmas holidays. So we didn't get to start on that until after January. But I'm so fortunate we had so many people. If I start naming them, I'm going to forget someone, but we had so many people that have been involved with Jazz Fest previously that have come forward, and everyone has volunteered their time. We've got about 20 people that's on our volunteer team, and they're helping us pull this together. It's for the students. We didn't have the donations that we had hoped to have the second day like they normally did with the pros, but we do have a few pros that are going to come in on Saturday. We'll have one headliner when we start, and then Vinny and the Hitman are going to start midday, and then First Fruits Jazz Fusion is going to round out the night, and it's going to be incredible. We've got about 13 or 14 middle and high school bands.
So there's and want to make sure we tell you too that it's at the Fountains at Gateway.
It's at the Fountains at Gateway, and Scott Graby, who owns the Fountains, has donated that entire property. We would not have gotten the event off the ground if it not had been for him.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And there's going to be a couple of stages, the main stage and middle school stage?
We have a main stage and a middle school stage. So.
That's awesome. And so it looks like things started at about 10 and go to about 6 o'clock.
About 6 o'clock. Everybody come early and get a good parking space. And all the merchants are going to be there for food and drink and everything. We're not going to have any food tents because they ask us not to. It really makes it easier for us to concentrate on the music, but there's plenty of merchants there that have beverages and food that people will be able to purchase.
And the big passion for you to work aside from your school board duties to make this happen this year is to allow these kids to have an opportunity like they had in the original Jazz Fest.
Correct. And it was to continue that. And we felt like it was Katie Darby and Claire Maxwell and myself. And it wasn't really a school thing, but it wasn't really in our, duties as on school board members. We just felt like we had to continue it because we thought that if it stopped and they had to resurrect it at some point, it would be harder to get it started back up. Even if we downsized it and just had the one day, it would be easier to continue it.
Well, and who knows what you can do in the next year and planning for the next one, hopefully.
Yes, and we won't be behind the eight ball, getting the next one. And Scott Graby has told us that we can have probably another year there. When we've heard Live Notes is supposed to come across the street, and we were hoping that they were coming in. We're hearing now that might be delayed, but hopefully maybe not. Because I'd already started talking to them about having some workshops with their entertainment that came in to come to our school and everything. So I was already working at saying, okay, we want to have the Jazz Fest there, and we want you to have the guest artists to come and do some workshops for our students. So,
well, let's reiterate Jazz Fest, 2023 Jazz Fest at the Fountains at Gateway is going to be next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, 10 to 6, a couple of stages, and boy, our time's gotten away quickly.
I know, it's so fast.
Tammy, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Tammy Sharp joining us today on Rutherford Issues right here on News Radio WGNS. Have a good day, everybody.
This is Lenny Farmer with Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home. Did you know that you can plan your funeral